Okay, so in our last video, our model here got curtain bangs. She got something that's subtle but versatile, where she can part on a center part and either side. And we always have that subtle short toward the face, longer away from the face sort of movement, no matter where we part the hair. Today we're still gonna do some long bangs, but we're gonna go the total opposite. I wanna do a more dramatic short to long on a side swept fringe. After we cut the hair today, she's gonna have a pretty dramatic angle that when she sweeps it over is gonna be even more dramatic. If you missed my video on how I part for bangs, I'll link to that. You might wanna watch that first to kind of catch up on what's going on. Again, let the head tell me where to part the hair. Side swept bangs are based on a side part, and they're typically for someone who's gonna part their hair in the same place all the time. One of the things that's going to differ in the way that I part this is I'm gonna part the hair where my guest normally parts it in order to do my sectioning. Otherwise, all the rest of the principles are the same. We're gonna let the head tell us where to part the hair. So let's say my guest parts her hair here. The bangs are complicated. They're like a haircut within a haircut. So we want to make sure that we're giving the optimal experience for that haircut. And there's a lot of moving parts here. Most side swept bangs don't necessarily need a shorter piece of hair on this side to match them up. If they do, it kind of complicates things. That's a little bit more advanced. So on my curtain fringe, I parted in the center, and I took my parting from the center when the comb is placed flat, leaves the flat plane of the head. I'm going to do the same thing with my comb this time. However, I am going to rotate my comb until it intersects with my part. So side swept fringes are going to inherently be parted further back than any other fringe or bangs. I gotta get better at that. So now I can see the comb is leaving the plane of the head right here, right where that comb intersects with my part. This is much further back than it normally would be. But this is the hair, according to gravity and the shape of the head, that is going to fall forward. So this is the hair that we're gonna say I'm interviewing this hair for the position of the bangs. Do I have to part all the way back here? No, but I'm going to part the hair there initially, observe and make some judgments. There is no law that says I can't use less hair or more hair, but this is typically optimal. So I'm gonna go from here, and I want to draw a line past the edge of my eyebrows, or her eyebrows, from that point. Depending on the guest's density, curl pattern, lifestyle, desired effect, all of those things, I will make the judgment of where in this point between the temple and the bangs that I cut. All right, so that leaves me with this asymmetrical triangle. Now it's very important that I get the right angle here, because this is going to tell me everything I need to know about my next step in this fringe. If you need to, go ahead and feel free to clip hair aside, and I'm gonna lower her just a little bit. We don't need to see her neck right now. So side swept bangs need to go from short to long from the inside of the face toward the outside of the face. The way that I like to start them, now that I've determined exactly where I should be parting from, and two, is I am going to pull my hair perpendicular to that parting line that I just created. And I'm gonna hold my fingers parallel to that parting line. Let's say I like where that curtain fringe was sitting before, and I just wanna make them even shorter and more dramatic. Well, check this out. Fingers are parallel to that line. Hair is perpendicular to it. I'm gonna stop right there where that previous haircut was. And I'm gonna work my way up. Keeping my fingers parallel to that line. Keeping the hair perpendicular to it. But let's take a look. And there we go. We have short to long side swept fringe. Now, what if this angle is too steep? If you watched my introductory video on bangs, then you'd know the further this hair travels, the longer it's going to be left. So maybe I don't pull the hair perpendicular to that line. I just relax it a little bit. I'm going to keep my fingers parallel with that line though. And that is going to allow me to cut my tail off. Let's take a look. So this is going to work for any length. If you want them shorter, make them shorter. If you want them steeper, pull them further toward you. If you want them shallower, don't pull them quite so far. Keep them close to that center line. Now, depending on the hair texture, density, whether the hair is fine, medium, coarse, whether it is thin, medium, or thick density, depending on the curl pattern, these are all things that we learn how to deal with over time. Those are all different factors that may change the way that I do this, but that's the basic idea. Apart from the intersection point of my comb and the parting, just like any other bangs, just past the edge of the eyebrow, somewhere between the eyebrow and the temple. That line gives me my directions. I start pulling perpendicular to it, keeping my fingers parallel and cutting straight across. Now get out there and cut some hair. I almost forgot. We were converting her fringe right here. If the hair has to travel a great distance, it's going to appear shorter and shorter the further it goes. I want you to observe how much shorter this is right now. But if I were to just cut this, let's just go ahead and do that. Then sweep this over. Once we get her hair styled, we're gonna have her have the hair like somewhere around the eyebrow, but this hair has nowhere to go. We're just gonna sweep it back right here. It still looks just as long as when we just cut it. So in order to get a side that balances here, that's gonna be purely visual. In her case, I'm just gonna take what was previously bangs, and that is gonna give me a little bit of a triangle. To get a really, really good blend, I am going to pull the hair perpendicular to that line, and we'll start by cutting parallel to that line. That's going to begin to give me a good blend. That may or may not feel balanced. It probably doesn't. This side still feels really long. You've got to be careful if you're balancing a piece on this side, because if you take it too short because you're trying to match something, it could get so short that it's going to stand up and do something weird. So just exercise caution. This is really more of a freehand technique. I have to choose which part of this fringe here this one lines up with. I'm going to choose to keep this side longer, pull that hair toward the face, cut the high end. It seems like I'm barely cutting anything, but I hope you can see on the camera how big of a difference that makes. Bottom line is, if you're balancing a piece on this side for a side swept fringe, one, it doesn't have to exist, but two, if you really need it to, there really is no guide to pull from on this side. You just pick a visual cue from any of these and try to pick which one is going to balance the best. That's really your choice. Most of the time, you don't need something to balance here. A side swept fringe is asymmetrical by nature. You don't really have to worry about balancing it over here. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, you enjoy being nerdy about hair and hearing the occasional dad joke, go ahead and check out another one of my videos. If you want to see them as soon as they come out, go ahead and click subscribe. Feel free to share this video with any of your nerdy friends. I'll see you next time. Thanks.